Hey everybody, Sarah Eggleston with John L. Scott. Welcome back to This Week in Housing, our weekly real estate update for South King County. These are weekly at 3. You may be watching this a little later because I'm having some technical difficulties today. So unfortunately, I'm not able to go Facebook Live, but hopefully you're able to watch this later on one of the platforms, Facebook, IGTV, YouTube, my website. So I apologize for any inconvenience, but this will be available soon. So let's go ahead and jump right into the update. Luckily, it's not too long of an update this week. So screen share. All right. As I said before, this is This Week in Housing. So in the news this week, this was posted today in the Seattle Times. Home prices climbed to record during pandemic as buyers seek space. This article was actually pretty spot on as far as what effects the coronavirus pandemic is having on the real estate market. Thought it was a really great article. The coronavirus pandemic helped shape the housing market by influencing everything from the direction of mortgage rates to the inventory of homes on the market, to the types of homes in demand and the desired locations. This is very true. This quote from the senior economist at Redfin, I really liked this quote. A 0.75 percentage point drop may not seem like a lot, but it's like handing $40,000 to a buyer of a $475,000 home who is able to get more house for the same monthly payment. So this really distills down why the lower interest rates are driving our housing market right now. Buyer demand is very, very high. Rates are pretty much as low as we've ever seen them. And people, for the same amount of that they would have paid this time last year, can get a lot more house for that amount of money. It also talked about sellers and how sellers have delayed putting their house on the market for a variety of reasons. Either they were worried about their job, they didn't want strangers coming through their home, or they're concerned about the economy, or some combination of those. And so the supply of homes available in May dropped nearly 30% from a year earlier. So this, like I said, this article did a pretty good job of explaining what's going on in the housing market as far as the buyer and seller response to the pandemic. For the this one also came out today in the Seattle Times. We'll be going over these numbers a little bit more in depth shortly, but you can see the new pending sales is still surpassed where we were last year, and that gap is actually getting wider. Last year, right about this time, new pending sales were going down slightly, and right now we're having them go up slightly. So we're seeing a little bit of a divergence on what happened last year as opposed to what's happening this year. And for new listings, you can see that we are still, for the last few weeks, above where we were for new listing inventory coming available compared to last year. So last week we talked about the like the 8th time this year that mortgage rates have hit the lowest on record. So this week, if we fast forward to this week, we are not seeing that at the moment. U.S. long-term mortgage rates rise, not much, and they're still historically low. So then they're still below 3, which, last year, just saying, oh yeah, somebody has a mortgage rate below 3%, and that would be like shocking last year. This year it's happening all the time. So this is just showing that maybe we've kind of reached the bottom. No one has a crystal ball, and this is a very very odd year as far as trying to predict what's going to happen in the economy and the housing market. And we are in uncharted territory here. So trying to guess what's going to happen is a little bit of a challenge. But I kind of feel like this might mean we're at the low point, and I think we'll hang around this point for a while, but I'm not sure if we'll see it go much lower. We'll have to stay tuned on that one. But we'll go ahead and jump right into this week's market activity. This breaks it apart into residential and condo. And you can see the new listings for condos have surpassed what their pendings were. That's still not the case for residential. So we're seeing a little bit more more condos come into the market than we are on residential, as far as like a percentage of buyers and sellers, inventory versus buyers. The condos are not moving as fast, and there are more of those for sale percentage wise than condos. But if we go ahead and combine them, you can see we have reached over 1,000 new listings in the past 7 days. So this is encouraging. This is definitely up from where we were. I'll show the graph in just a moment. But we have been so short on inventory for so long. I just feel like a broken record when I'm doing these weekly updates. But there's a lot of buyer demand and not a lot of inventory out there. So to see this number getting higher is very encouraging for the buyers out there. And if we look at it on our graph, the new listings, you can see that we have reached more new listings this week than we've seen since through this pandemic, since at least the end of April, but it's pretty low before that. But this is really great sign to see. It's headed closer to the pended listings. It's headed closer to that line. So this is encouraging to see for buyers again. This is that new listing chart to show a little bit of weekly history this year compared to last year. We have, as I said on the article, we have more new listings than coming to the market right now than we did this time last year. Pending sales this year, we are above where we were last year at this time. And you can kind of see the trend for this year is a slightly positive line, and last year was kind of a slightly downward line. So these two lines are headed further apart. And with the new listings coming on the market, I expect to see this line go up a little bit further. And for solds, we did take a little bit of a dip, but we're kind of hugging the line where we were last year and have been for a few weeks here for the amount of sold listings. And this is for the Northwest MLS, which is basically Western Washington. And this is for North America showing time. So these are showing time requests by agents to show homes. This is this signifies buyer demand. And you can see that the orange line this year is well above where we were on the dark blue line last year as far as showings. I know some of this is probably due to the lack of open houses that are on the market right now, where can't do in-person open houses. So if somebody wants to see a property, they have to go reach out to an agent and have them open the door for them in order to see it. So I do believe part of this gap is because of the lack of open houses, but I mean, it also means there's buyers in homes. So these are great numbers, especially with the lack of inventory. That means a lot of these buyers are more of these buyers are in each home on average compared to last year. And if you look at this week compared to last week, and on the Northwest MLS showing, so this is Western Washington. This is Western Washington showings last week were pretty much similar to the week before, slightly lower, it looks like, but it really is pretty close. And then this year compared to last year, we had more showings this year compared to last year, and we are seeing an increase in showings over time. So this is for months of inventory. This is a theoretical number. So we're at 0.9 months of inventory right now, which we haven't seen since December of last year, typically when there are fewer home sales. So this theoretical number means that if no new homes came on the market, and then we would run out of homes in 0.9 months. So a little less than a month, we would run out of homes if no new homes came on the market. So this is just showing that there's not a lot of inventory sitting around on the market. And if you're a seller, this is great news because it means there's going to be a lot of eyes on your home. If you're a buyer, it just means that you have to go in with a plan in place to strengthen your offer and basically know what you're going, what kind of situation you're going into if you're planning to make an offer on a home. And then this is for sale versus pended, or for sale, sold, and pended. So the red line is pended, dark green is sold, light green is for sale. And if you look at last year, May, June, July, you can see the pended line was a steady decrease for these 3 months. And if we look at May, June, July for this year, we're seeing the exact opposite. This line is headed up. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes from here. But just to see the opposite thing happening during the same time period is interesting. But this shows the last 5 years for new resale listings overlaid. And you can see 2016 through 19, they follow a very, very similar path. Overall, the real estate market is pretty predictable year to year because we have very little inventory at the beginning of the year, more listings come on. A lot of homes are bought and sold in the spring and summer. And then we kind of dwindle down on our inventory again throughout the rest of the year. In the fall and winter, we call it the inventory cleanup. And generally we go into January with not a lot of inventory and the cycle starts over. This year, January, February, March was pretty much following that same trend. And then we just took a plunge in the opposite direction for April. This is obviously a direct response to what was happening in the pandemic, but you can see that we are now meeting up with the lines of the last few years. So it'll be interesting to see where this line goes from here. I think it'll probably pop back up over, I think this is our delayed spring. So this is when we normally have our spring market, and this is our delayed spring market, and we'll have a little bit more inventory come on this year later, and then start to head towards the winter cleanup. That's just a guess, obviously. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do feel like with all of the information that I've been looking at, that's kind of the direction I feel it's headed. There are a lot more people that are feeling more safe to put their home on the market right now, which is a good thing for buyers, because like I said, we are low on inventory for those buyers. So, all right, it's gonna go ahead and wrap it up. It was a short week. There wasn't a lot of new information that came out this week. So I know I'll have a little bit more information for you next Friday at 3. Hopefully live on Facebook. Fingers crossed that I don't have any technical difficulties next week. But I hope you found this valuable. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to chat about the real estate market in your area or answer any questions that you might have. And don't forget to like and subscribe, whatever channel you're watching, platform you're watching this on later. Make sure that you hit the bell, subscribe, alerts, so that you'll see these types of videos in the future. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic week. Enjoy the hot weather we have coming up. This has been This Week in Housing, and I will see you next week at 3 p.m. right here. Again, this is Sarah Eggleston with John L. Scott signing off. Have a great week.